Modern-day Israel. Under the reign of King Solomon, Israel had grown to an empire. They had land and riches and worshiped their God. They were all happy, knowing that their God was going to protect them. But soon, and very soon, danger was on the horizon, and they would be living in exile out of the land that was promised to them. These are the stories of the Israelites and the prophets that went through this time period and the trials and tribulations that they faced.
Good afternoon, Jeroboam. Thank you for coming on our show today. Would you care to tell us about Rehoboam and maybe a personal agenda he might have?
I would love to. He's not exactly the best ruler we've had. He hasn't really followed the Lord's plan for what Israel would want. Kind of like his father, Solomon, in the past. He's kind of big on personal possessions and gaining a lot of wealth. Like, he likes to tax the people of Israel for his own personal gain, and he likes to buy things with that money. And people have came to him and are like, Solomon was bad, but you're even worse. Like, your yoke's even heavier. And they're not really impressed with the way he's ruling. And he doesn't like to listen to the elders of Israel. He likes to do his own thing, following his own personal goals, not really caring for others.
All right, thank you for that. And would you care to tell us about maybe how you think you are as a king?
How I think I'm as a king? I think I would do a better job personally. The Lord told me from a prophet that since Rehoboam isn't ruling properly, that the kingdom will be split. And I think that I can do a better job of ruling a part of a kingdom rather than Rehoboam. Like, I would follow the Lord. I think I'd do a pretty good job.
All right, thank you for that. We've actually heard from some of your Israelite people that you would have plans to make golden calves as idols. Could you tell me why you might have done that, since in history it hasn't worked out so well?
Well, I'm kind of worried about people going down to his kingdom to go and worship the Lord and make sacrifices. I would rather have them come to where I'm at. So this golden calf thing, I think it's a great idea so that people can make sacrifices where I'm at rather than Rehoboam, because I feel I'm doing a better job, sort of. And I think that people should come. Dang.
But building a golden calf as an idol goes against God's teaching, and you said that you would think you would follow God's will and word better than Rehoboam.
Never thought about that, actually. That's kind of tough. I don't know, I think this is going to work out. I think it's going to be fine with this whole golden calf thing.
Okay, then.
Still worship the Lord that way.
End interview. Thank you for coming on our show this afternoon as we're continuing our look into the lives of Jeroboam and Rehoboam as kings. Would you care to tell me about your King Jeroboam?
He was a great king. He made great feasts for us and a giant golden calf.
Okay, do you think that's what God wants, though? Good afternoon, Rehoboam. Thank you for coming on our show today. Would you care to tell me how you feel about the kingdom being split?
I will, and I think the kingdom being split was probably because of one of the leaders being a bad leader, and I don't think that's me. I think I was the better leader, but that's probably why it got split.
Okay, could you care to tell me a little bit about Jeroboam's rule?
Now let me tell you something about him. I don't like what he did. The whole golden calf thing, I don't know if he didn't take Bible lessons as a child growing up, but clearly that didn't work. He did that. He also made enshrinements to other gods and made sacrifice to other gods, and I don't think that that's God's will, because you're not doing that for God. but you're doing it for other gods.
Do you think he was being a bit selfish when he made the altar at the far end of his kingdom so that his people couldn't go to make sacrifices in yours?
I think he was, maybe a little bit. Like, I kind of understand why he did it, because he didn't want other people to get into, like, the North Kingdom or the South Kingdom to make sacrifices, but, like, I feel like it's a really inconvenient place to put it, and it's just a little petty.
All right, and how do you think that you are as a ruler?
Clearly I think I'm the better one, because even though that God only gave me 2 of the kingdoms, which I've been talking to him about that, but he hasn't answered me. I'm not sure why he did that, but I think I'm the better one. I think that I haven't done stuff like build golden calves and make shrines to other gods, so I think that I'm a little bit better.
All right, well, thank you for that.
You are welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming on our show as we continue our look at the lives of Jeroboam and Rehoboam and their rule. Would you care to tell me about your king Rehoboam?
Rehoboam was a terrible leader because he wasn't listening to our request and was just doing his own thing.
Thank you.
Are you a prophet and you're tired of walking in the sand all day? Do your feet blister and hurt? Well, buy a pair of Toe Sweat Sandal Company shoes. And if you call right now, you get free shipping and handling. Be sure to call now, and thank you for buying. In 1722 BC, the Assyrians conquered Israel. The Assyrians were aggressive and effective. The history of their dominance over the Middle East is a history of constant warfare. In order to assure that conquered territories would remain pacified, the Assyrians would force many of the native inhabitants to relocate to other parts of their empire. They almost always chose the upper and more powerful classes, for they had no reason to fear the general mass of the population. They would send the Assyrians to relocate in the conquered territory.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun.
But by 625 BC, the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar would reassert control over Mesopotamia, and the Jewish king Josiah aggressively sought to extend his territory in the power vacuum that resulted. But Judah soon fell victim to the power struggles between Assyria, Babylon, and the Egyptians. So they too were also exiled.
There's another world inside of me that you may never see.
Daniel, thank you for coming on our show. Where are they now? Israelites before and after exile. I hear if you have been in Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Is there anything interesting that you would care to share with us about that?
Well, a very interesting thing is Nebuchadnezzar built a giant statue and told us to bow down to it. And this is by far the most fascinating story. And I actually refused to, along with 3 of my friends. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And that was a very interesting thing that happened, for sure.
All right. So what happened with the statue? Did you bow down or did you refuse?
Well, I knew that my God, the one true God, the only God, was going to protect me regardless. So I stood up to Nebuchadnezzar by standing up and not bowing down.
All right. And how did he feel about that? How did he react?
Well, he didn't like it due to how he punished us. He said, "Y'all better bow down to my statue or else I'm going to throw you in the furnace." And we kept standing up because we knew our God was going to protect us. And eventually, he threw us in a furnace.
Okay. And how was your experience in the furnace?
Well, it was warm. It was definitely warm. Another thing that happened is all of a sudden Nebuchadnezzar was looking, right? He was looking at the furnace waiting for us to burn, and there was a fourth person in there. 4. 3 people got thrown in, 4 people were in there. And he rubbed his eyes, didn't know what was going on, and the person was very bright in intelligence and like in general just bright. And he said, pull them out of there, they're walking around, they should be dead. And out popped us 3, and God saved us that day.
And did Nebuchadnezzar then change how he thought about your God after the furnace happened?
Oh, you better believe it. He did change, just like that he changed. And he said, your God is the one true God, and my whole kingdom is going to worship him now because of how awesome he is.
All right, fantastic story. Thank you again, Daniel.
You're welcome.
Tune in next week to hear our next story, a rag to riches story of a girl named Esther, who shows that God uses all people.
What if I told you that the Israelites were still in exile? And what if I told you that there was a woman who could set them all free? Tune in next Tuesday for Israelites in Exile, Where Are They Now? For the next chapter of this story, the story of Esther.
Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning back into our show. We have with us here Ezra and Nehemiah, and they'll be talking about the rebuilding of the temple. Ezra, can you please tell me about your role in the rebuilding?
My role was to help rebuild the actual temple and bringing people back to the Lord, because people, they didn't want to come back, so I had to help eliminate the adultery and the social critical that was going on with the people. That was pretty tough.
All right. Did you help with rebuilding of the temple too, as well as the help with the people?
Yes.
Great. And Nehemiah, can you tell us about your role?
Well, Cyrus was king at the time, so I decided I would ask him if he could allow me to have the resources I would need to start rebuilding Israel again. But I was kind of nervous at first because I was worried he would say no, that kind of thing. So I prayed to the Lord. I was like, Lord, can you help me with this? I'm kind of nervous asking Cyrus for help. And eventually the Lord changed his heart, and he gave me permission to go back with resources and rebuild Israel. And I took some people with me. We rebuilt like the walls and the gates of Israel.
All right. That is great. Is there while you were with them rebuilding the walls and the gates, did you have any special slogan to help cheer the people up and get them working?
We did.
And could you tell us what that was?
Make Israel great again.
All right, that is a fantastic slogan. I thank you both for being here today, and we'll pan over to see some of the temple rebuilding going on right now. Good afternoon. Would you care telling us about your temple building technique?
Yeah, so the first thing I do is I get rocks, like so, and then I get little ones and I stack them up, and I'm trying to build a wall/temple, so that's kind of what the technique is.
Right, what's your motivation in building this temple wall?
Well, my motivation is just to rebuild it because some people came in like hundreds of years ago and destroyed it, completely destroyed it, and my only goal is to just rebuild it to its former glory.
Good afternoon, Malachi. Thank you for coming on our show. Where Are They Now? Israelites Before and After the Exile. Would you care to tell us about your prophet friends Haggai and Zechariah and how they played a part in the post-exile period?
Sure. So Haggai and Zechariah both helped the people rebuild the temple and encouraged them to take part in that. And they also tried to get them to further their relationships with God and come back to those practices.
Right, and how have you yourself influenced these people?
Well, now that all the Jews are back in Jerusalem, I'm helping them follow the rules as well and come back to God before He comes back to establish His kingdom.
Thank you. Good afternoon, random Israelite number 2493. Thank you for coming on our show. Where are they now? Israelites before and after exile. Here we are after the exile. Would you care to tell us your life story during this time? In a rap, if you care to.
Before or after the exile?
After. Well, after.
After the exile? Well, it's been pretty great so far. I love being back in my hometown. Things have calmed down, no wars, no hardships, and Israel's been rebuilt so far. It's been pretty good. I'm liking my life right now.
All right. Well, do you have a favorite pet?
A camel.
Camel.
I have two.
All right. What are their names?
Can't remember their name right now. It's been so
I
long since the
would
exile.
not remember their camels' names.
I've been exiled for so long.
I know, but
Left them.
you left your camels.
I think one was like Joe, maybe Sam.
Joe and Sam.
Yeah, I think that was
All
right.
Great camel names. Good afternoon, random Israelite number 832. Thank you for coming on our show today. Where are they now? Israelites before and after the exile. Would you care to share with us about your life after the exile?
Yes, of course. After the exile, came back into Israel. It was a good time. You know, we were building a wall and whatnot. It was pretty good. I actually sent letters to my family who we all got separated, so it was a pretty down time, but you know, it's gotten better.
Fantastic. Do you have any pets that you have and names?
Actually, I do. I have a pet rock. His name is Gerald. He's in the ceiling tiles right now of this building. I hid him.
All right.
You will never find him.
Really? I have ways.
No, you don't. You will never find Gerald.
I have
You will
people.
not take Gerald from me.
Gerald might die.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.